Hey, what's up? This is your boy Jim Jones, Cap. I listen to Scoop B Radio.
You know it's a party when you get the world infamous Jim Jones on the line. Because I got some questions for you, brother. Brother, how are you, first of all?
Feeling pretty good. How you feeling?
I'm doing all right. I thought we was on one of them old verses when they was doing stuff from Hole for a minute. For a minute, it was freezing, but your frequency is perfect now. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I'm good. Good.
Perfect.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. All right. So I gotta tell you this. When I was in college, me and my boys religiously watched A Day in a Fast Life. And I'm gonna tell you what I saw then that made so much sense now and it inspired me. You were on the forefront of being both artists but transitioning into scouting talent. And you had that American Express corporate card, which inspired me when I started working that corporate life. What would old Jim now say to young Jim then in that position you were in?
Oh man, in that position I was in, I still was in a very emotional state. So I was dealing with problems with my heart instead of my mind, and that could kind of cause a little conflict sometimes. So that would probably be the main thing that I would tell my younger self and things like that. Because I had a great position. I definitely was smart enough for it. I knew what it took to do that position. But as far as who I was at the time, there was a lot of going on. I didn't have the right people in my corner. The people that I thought were in my corner were telling me the wrong things that now when I look back, I think they were more scared of me being more powerful than they could ever be inside this music industry.
Sure.
So I kind of tricked myself out of that position by following suit to people that I thought would lead me to the right direction.
But it's interesting because you see a lot of music artists kind of coming in doing that, like bringing in their crew. Like I feel like that time frame, like you saw Jay going in as president of Def Jam, you saw you and other people kind of knowing the game of the artist, but transitioning to that corporate world. If you had to do it all over again, how many years after you originally got that position do you think you would have been ready to do it?
After balling, I probably would have been more equipped to do it.
Really?
Yeah. Because when you get to that height of success, there's so many things in the game that you don't factor in because you're not that successful. There's so many things you learn from being that successful because of the room of people that you're in. And I learned a lot of things by gaining that success of balling. And if I had that knowledge then to apply it when I first got my position, maybe things would have been a little bit different. Shouts to Kevin Lyles, man, who believed in me as a young man and believed in how smart I was and things like that. And he helped me change a lot of things about my life. So I appreciate him to this day.
For sure. And you talk about balling, Jim. People ask you those questions all the time. But I mean, is it a feeling that you know in the studio that it's going to be a hit? Is it the people in your circle? Is it when it first touches the radio and the reception? When did you know that was going to be a hit?
I didn't know it was going to be a hit. My back was against the wall, and now my label was pressuring me for a single. And I had a record that I had did with the Franchise Boys when they was doing finger snap music, and that was like the most up-tempo beat that I could remember I had that we could possibly use as a single. And I actually took the Franchise Boys off, and I created Ballin', and I gave it to the label. And Flex was probably actually the first one that gave it some attention. He had went to like Hawaii or something and said, "Oh, this is going to be a big record." And he came in, the city started activating on it. And then Strahan was the one that really took it out of here when the Giants had that incredible year. And every time they would sack a quarterback, the whole team would get up and do the ball and dance. And it just took off from there.
Keeping it basketball for a second. We got a couple things to talk about, but keeping it basketball. Gilly, Wallow, Cam, Mase recently talked about Jamal Crawford. And the conversation was that Gilly felt as though he could take on Jamal Crawford a one-on-one. Did you see it? What was your reaction when you saw it?
I didn't see it, but I heard about it. I don't think Gilly could fuck with Jamal Crawford in no basketball court or no way, shape, or form. I would actually give Cam a better shot at if Cam was in shape a better shot at playing Jamal Crawford than Gilly. I don't think. And if Cam was in shape, Gilly couldn't fuck with Cam at all, in no way, shape, or form, and not one part of that. But and I'm just saying that, you know, I haven't spoke to Cam in a minute. He can't fuck with Cam.
What was his game like though? Like, would you compare it to anybody?
Cam was like Rod Strickland with a little bit of fucking Allen Iverson, with a little bit of Kenny Anderson. The nigga just was different. Like, I'm talking about from since he was 12 and 13, like his name rung bells across the whole tri-state, like for playing basketball. Like he was Cam the All-American playing Ruck at 15 and winning championships at Ruck at 15. Like he really was that deal. Unfortunately, things happened in life and he became a professional in another league. But I seen that man go up against Starbury, Marbury, and give Marbury numbers, like a real war going on. Every time Marbury score, Cam score, LaGuardia House, shit like that. Like he's a real basketball dog. I can't take that nothing away from what he's done. That is history that I've seen. Not that I'm telling you about it, that I've seen, that I've seen since 14, 15, 16 through our whole high school career. Like I seen him chipping everyone up. You name him, he chipped them up. Promise you. And you can ask any one of the counterparts that have been out there since they've been playing basketball. He's really one of them deals.
No, that's real. Damian Lillard is the real deal on the microphone, not just on the basketball court. Have you seen his process? Have you listened to his music? What do you take from it?
I haven't listened to any of his music. No disrespect. I mean, like I don't. I mean, like I wouldn't. Somebody would have to put me on to it and things like that. He's a basketball player to me, so that's what I take him as and shit like that. I don't know about the music part, and I'm not saying that he's not dope as an artist or nothing like that. But you know, I listen to music for certain things, and when I look at the person, I look at him for certain things and shit like that. You know what I mean? Unless he got a dope record.
Are there any athletes that you took seriously lyrically?
No, not really, but there are athletes that had records that I kind of remember, and athletes that have won platinum that I can't knock the hustle. I'm not here to say athletes shouldn't do music and things like that. You know what I mean? Like we had a bunch of athletes that made incredible records and went platinum for the masses and things like that. You know what I mean? Everybody has their own taste, and shouts to people like Shaq, shouts to people like Kobe, shouts to Damian Lillard, shouts to Strumpet. I thought Strumpet be doing some music. I see him freestyling. Shouts to Stack Jack. I remember Stack Jack was doing some music and things like that. Shouts to my man Gerald Green. Gerald Green, he be doing music. I know he be in the studio all the time. So yeah, I know a bunch of athletes that actually do music and things like that. And I've done music with some of these athletes also and things like that. But that's in the spirit of me knowing them and us having a camaraderie and things like that. You know what I mean? So
that's real. That's real. Speaking of music, Byrdgang 2.0 is what you're currently pushing. Tell me more about it.
Just dropped Byrdgang 2.0 with all my artists off of VL, BGVL. It's a lot of them. Shouts to Peso, shouts to King Streets, shouts to Zeusy, shouts to Dilla, shouts to all my ladies, Hustle, No ID, Yellow, and Jew. Shouts to Mim, shouts to Liddy, shouts to Taylor. There's a few more. It'll come to me as we go on. But yeah, it's a group of us, man. I've been blessed with a group of talented individuals that come in the studio night in and night out and put their best foot forward. And we put together this compilation album. Dice Peso was the one that actually bring it to fruition and told me maybe about a year and a half ago, yo, we should bring back that Byrdgang music. That's the music I grew up on like that. That was a heavy era of my life, you know. I gave him some heavy consideration. I was telling him we do it, it gotta be hit. And I'm not mad. I'm excited for the album we put out. We about to shoot some more videos. Free Mel Matrix, free him till we see him, free all the guys, Half Shotty and everybody, all the original BG members that was a part of the first BG wave. Shouts to the ones that's not here no more. Shouts to Sam, man. I miss you daily. Shouts to Stack Bundles. I miss you daily. You know that, baby, bro. But yeah, Byrdgang 2.0 is out right now, man. Y'all go pick that up. We got some steam on there.
Jim, I'm curious, the creative process, the studio process, the writing process, I'm fascinated by it because any creative has their own level of creativity. I remember hearing Foxy Brown talking about how she needed a slice of pizza and a Coca-Cola, and she'd write. I'm not a rapper, but I know that when I was in college, I had to go to Wawa, I had to go get a drink, I had to be situated, I had to have the music going to get them term papers done. Comparatively, for you, what is a studio session? Is it late night? Is it during the day? What do you need to be fully locked in?
Yeah, I'm definitely vamping in the studio. Studio is definitely a late night thing for me. 9 to 5 is vamp hours, so we get in the studio about 9 at night, and the shift is over at 5 in the morning and things like that. Getting there, my process is a little bit different. Some days I'm in my mode where I'm up and I'm very energetic, and then some days I go into this deep subconscious sleep where I write my music in my sleep, and then I pop up and do whole records and things like that, and that's been recorded. You could Google it. So many people have seen it and things like that. I can't explain it though. I don't know how it goes, but definitely I've written albums in my sleep.
You have been posting on social media discussing the notion that you want to drop something before the ball drops, and can you kind of discuss that a little bit more?
Well, for the past year, I've been in the studio making music and curating this album with my artists and helping them with their projects. And I kind of took like a year off. I mean, I've done enough projects to keep me going forever, but it's me for already getting into my Jim Jones bag and getting like I haven't, but I've in the past 40 days, 30 days, I've been catching this little itch, like, yo, I got to get back in my bag. I got to get back in my bag. I got to get back in my bag. And I started just going to the studio and started consciously working on my music and things like that. And it's like getting back in the ball court. You got to put up a lot of shots. I just started creating music until I started feeling myself. And now I feel like I'm in my bag. I'm trying to get deep in my bag. Start putting up some clips on the IG. The people been jacking it. So, that's always a great sign. I'm ready though. I'm definitely gonna drop before the ball drop. You heard? I promise you that.
Does a complete album mean a certain amount of songs? Do you feel more comfortable with 10, 12, 13? What number do you think? Is it more less numbers or is it more substance and content?
I've never done a record album with 10 records on it. As much as I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna do creatively, I gotta finish the mission that I'm doing. I gotta finish the story. Like, it's always a move when if you look at any of my albums, it's always like, you know what I mean? So it usually ends up about 15, 16, 17 records. I mean, and that's been for all my albums and things like that. I don't really put no cap on it. I mean, I like music. I mean, but music is consumed so fast nowadays. That's why. And then they got so many different ways for streaming to make sense and things like that. So artists are deliberately putting more records. Some are deliberately putting less records, but they're not putting records according to the artistic mission of the album they got at hand. You know what I mean? Like, if my album finishes at 15 records, that's what I'm gonna put on. I'm not gonna put 22 records on my album for the sake that it might stream a little bit more, because that takes away from my artistic value.
Sure. Curious. I often talk with players about using the team themselves and the team they play for on 2K. Comparatively in hip hop, I find it a mixed bag as to whether people just listen to themselves, what other artists they could religiously listen to. I've asked Michael Vick, can he utilize himself in Madden? He would say no, he liked playing with Tom Brady on Madden. I take that and raise you this. If you're not listening to Jim Jones in your car, who are 3 rappers that you can listen to religiously, seamlessly?
3 rappers that I can listen to religiously,
seamlessly, like just like a chill day. It's not you, but it's like,
I would go Drake and Jay.
Okay.
I could listen to them all day. Tupac.
Okay.
To him all day. And then there's a whole bunch of other artists that I just love their music and shit like that. But I don't know if I would listen to them all day and things like that.
Outside of hip hop, what music or artists do you enjoy listening to?
I like R&B. I like the old school R&B. Me and Chrissy always listen to them in the house while we drinking champagne, wine, and things like that. I like all type of music. Like, me and my son got a few rock and roll songs we always listen to when he was coming up. I'm just a fan of music, period. But I love hip hop. Hip hop is what made me. I'm a hip hop baby. You know what I mean? Like, that's my genre. You know what I mean? Like, shit, hip hop is everything to me.
Recently, And watching that interview that Gilly, Cam, Mase they did was just full of jewels and loaded with conversation. But the one thing that stood out to me was someone said that they thought that Juelz had the ability, or many thought that he could be the second coming of Jay. That's big shoes to fill. My question is this: did you, if not Juelz, did you see anybody else in his age group that could fill those shoes?
First of all, Juelz wasn't trying to fill Jay-Z's shoes in no way, shape, or form. In my eyes, he was the biggest artist, period. We was never trying to fill nobody else's shoes, so I didn't like that comment, because that's not how we was. That's not what we was about. Especially from them two who tried so hard to be bigger than Jay for their whole career, from the beginning of their career, from the very before they got signed. Like, I know the whole story. So they should have put themselves in that category instead of speaking about Juelz. You know what I mean? Because Juelz definitely wasn't trying to fill nobody's shoes. He was talented more than most people that I ever met in my life at that time. You know what I mean? And he could have been the biggest star. He still could be one of the biggest stars to this day. So he got some music. I know people have been waiting. I know some people are frustrated, but that's what happened. But nobody knows what demons anybody is up against. You know what I mean? So you can't put a rush on greatness.
You can't. Right. Greatness is a process. It can't be based on age. It has to go with maturity. It has to go with timing. There's so much more to it.
100,000,000%. Shouts to Juelz, still my favorite rapper. And he definitely got a surprise. I've been listening to all the music and watching all the videos. So whenever he's ready to go, I'm standing right behind him.
So I got to ask this question. So I remember when I watched The Last Dance and they showed the whole thing with Isaiah Thomas and where he and Michael were beefing. And then he talked about meeting the criteria. And that became a GIF. Everybody talked about it. That became one of the most quotable moments in The Last Dance comparatively. When you look at Versus with you guys and the Locks, everybody made the Jadakiss. It was good. The whole thing when he was on the microphone and it became a GIF. Where were you the first time that you saw that as a GIF? Did you find it on your own or did somebody send it to you?
I can't remember. I don't know. I can't even remember that. I knew it was funny though when I looked at it.
It was funny, but I think the thing that gets lost in translation with these verses is people look at them as wrestling matches. Like even in basketball, you look at it's got to be Magic versus Bird. In this case, it was the Locks versus Dipset. If you ruled the world for the day, how would you change verses?
How would I change the verses?
Yeah,
I wouldn't change anything about it, man. Can't change history, man. Them boys was prepared. They came and they did their numbers, man. But I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change anything, bro. You heard? I'm prepared for all the L's. All the L's I get, I turn into lessons, you heard? And I'm definitely going to always win in life. So,
Couple more questions. The City of God mixtape to me, when I was in college, was inspiring. It had tons of hits and more. Where do you place that mixtape on your body of work, and where do you rank that? Where do you look at that just in your journey as a piece of work?
Every career I had inside of my career, that probably was the first round. That was, I think, the album was key to for people to know that I'm definitely not going nowhere as far as a mixtape. That put me in a different bracket as far as rappers at the time, and it definitely was very instrumental in me continuing to do more music and things like that. It's one of my dopest mixtapes that I've done.
Last question. As much as people talk about Ballin', one of your greatest pieces of work, the video for Baby Girl has so much inspiration from other hip hop songs, videos, and more. What was the set of Baby Girl like?
I directed all my videos. There wasn't too much to it. I just wanted to make sure that what we were talking about it in music kind of reflected on the video, and I was always a big fan of that. I always wanted to make sure that we stay in Harlem and make sure we paint the picture of how beautiful this place is, and And that was all inspiration. You know, Harlem is definitely one of my biggest inspirations to this day when it comes to music, you know, because this is all about life there. So much different life.
You answered all my questions. Make sure you guys check out Byrdgang 2.0. And before the ball drops, he's got another piece of work. And hopefully, Juelz, he drops something as well. Brother, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Scoop.
Amen.
All right, my brother.